Good evening. So for Life Lesson Friday, this is going to be quick because basically it's late. And so the message for today is always show up. And I had actually a different Life Lesson Friday. Going to have to catch that one next week in mind earlier today, and didn't have a moment to stop and get online and do that. Well, I did, but it was going to be a short moment, and then I knew I would be interrupted. But just based on the timing of things. And so then the day happens, and if you know me, you know I'm a track fanatic, and the World Championships has been on, so that just finished. And I'm sitting there going, oh crap, I didn't do my Life Lesson Friday. And it's 10 o'clock. And then I thought, I got to show up. You got to always show up. So I'm coming on real quick before I go to bed to say, you got to always show up. If you say you're going to do something, you got to show up. Sometimes that means doing things at a different time period than you thought. Sometimes it means doing it when you have just a very short amount of time to do it in. But if you don't show up, if you don't do what you know you're supposed to do, if you don't do what people are expecting, and it's not always about living up to people's expectations, but some people, I've heard actually this week from multiple people that have told me that they appreciate the stuff that I put out, and none of those people have, to my knowledge, to my recollection, ever commented on any of my videos or any of my posts. And so it was a bit of a shock when each one of them said, hey, I love your stuff. I loved when you talked about this. I love when you, like, it makes so much sense when you talked about that. Like, it helps me. I go back and I watch them. Like, I don't catch every one of them. Like, these are just some of the things that people have told me this week. And I'm like, wow. So I got to show up, because somebody needs to know that sometimes it doesn't always work out on the timeline that you think or you plan or you have in your head. But you got to show up. And so tonight I'm showing up because it's Life Lesson Friday, and it's still Friday where I am. So I'm showing up to say, you got to show up. You got to do what you got to do. And, you know, it's a discipline thing. And I've talked about discipline before. And I've talked about discipline when it comes to running. And sometimes you just got to show up and do what you got to do. And do I like running in the Texas heat when it's 102 outside? Or even when it's, you know, it doesn't get below 80? No, of course I don't like that. Like, well, actually, I sort of don't mind the 80 because, you know, it's something that I don't mind running in the heat. But 102 is a different heat, you know, and so it's there. It's got to be done. I always show up. And so if you know you have to do something, it's a lot easier to just show up and do it than it is to put it off. Because I could have put this off and come on Saturday and done a Saturday post and da-da-da. But, you know, it would have been a day late. And I would have known that I missed the boat. And everybody else would have, you know, if I would have done the same post, everybody else would have got the same information. But I know I would have been a day late. And so I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to come on and do it. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to come on and do it. And I'm going to show up. And sometimes that's hard. It's tough. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's simple, but simple's not always easy. But if you don't show up, then nothing is ever going to get accomplished. Like nothing. So the only way to get something accomplished is to show up. Doesn't mean you're always going to get it done. Doesn't mean you're always going to be successful. But neither of those is going to happen if you don't show up at all. So it's all about showing up, giving yourself a chance to get it done. So go ahead and get that done. Show up. Maybe not tonight, but tomorrow. Show up for whatever you need to get done.